Everyone in the village knew Mama Nkem's soup. It was thick, spicy, sweet with scent leaves. And always, it made your mouth water just by smelling it from far away. But one evening, something changed. The smell came again, but this time, it didn't make people hungry. It made their skin crawl. Children stopped playing. Women paused at their firewood. Men looked up from their drinks at the palm wine joint. "Did you smell that?" someone whispered. "Yes," another replied. "But this time, it smells wrong." For many years, Mama Nkem had been known as the best cook in Amudara village. Even after her husband died suddenly and her only son, Chidi, fell sick every season, she still smiled and sold her soup in front of her small mud house near the big tree. She always wore a faded yellow wrapper, her scarf tied tight, her eyes tired but kind. People would say, "That woman has suffered. Life beat her, but she's still standing." Her soup? That one is not just food. It's medicine for the soul. But that evening, something strange happened. A thick smell filled the air. It rolled through the village like smoke, sharp and heavy. It clung to the nose and made the stomach twist, not from hunger, but from fear. Old Pa Ejiofor, who hadn't left his compound in years, came outside holding his walking stick. "This is not ordinary," he said. "That smell is carrying something. Something is hiding inside it." Mama Nkem sat quietly beside her black pot, stirring with a wooden spoon. Her face was calm, but her eyes, if you looked closely, were red, like she had cried all night. Only a few came to buy that evening. A little girl named Ada was the first. She gave her 100 Nigerian nairas and smiled. But when she tasted the soup at home, she spat it out. "Mama, it tastes bitter." Her mother tasted it too. Her eyes widened. She poured the rest into the bush. By morning, rumors were running like wild goats. They say the soup is cursed. Some say she cried while cooking it. No, I heard she was talking to herself by the fire. Maybe she used something from the forest. The village chief's wife even said, "I won't let that woman feed poison to this village." But no one had proof, just fear. And that strange, heavy smell that had returned with the evening wind. What nobody knew was this. That night before the soup, Mama Nkem had sat alone beside her sleeping son, Chidi. His chest rose and fell, weak and slow. The doctor said he had something eating his blood. Leukemia, they called it. She had no money for the hospital, no help, no hope. And so, she went to the edge of the forest, to a place her mother once warned her about. A place where women don't go unless they have nothing left to lose. There she knelt, in the dirt, alone. She didn't say real words, just groans, cries, pleas, tears that burned her face. And when she returned, the air around her had changed. She didn't sleep. She didn't speak. She just began to cook. The next morning, strange things began to happen. A dog that always barked near her house was found silent and stiff. 3 lizards dropped from the tree behind her roof. An old Pa Ejiofor, yes, the same man who smelled the air, collapsed in his compound. The nurse said it was his heart, but some whispered it started after that smell. That evening, nobody bought her soup. Not even the drunk men who always begged for leftovers. Only one boy came, Emeka, a young apprentice who loved food more than work. He ate 2 bowls and licked the plate. The next morning, Emeka's voice disappeared. He opened his mouth to speak, but no sound came. His mother cried, "Who did this to my son?" The village pointed fingers. But all fingers were pointing in one direction. Mama Nkem, Chief Obi, called a village meeting. She stood before them, shaking but silent. "What did you put in that soup?" they asked. She said nothing. "Are you trying to kill us?" She looked down. Finally, she whispered, "It was just water, pepper, fish, and my tears." But no one believed her. A woman shouted, "That soup carries death." The crowd shouted back, "Burn the pot." Someone grabbed her spoon and broke it in 2. A young man kicked over the black pot. The last of the soup poured into the red sand, hissing. Mama Nkem didn't fight. She just turned and walked back inside her house. But that night, something happened that shook the village even more. Chitty, the boy who had not stood in weeks, was seen walking slowly toward the well. His eyes were clear, his skin no longer pale. He spoke. He smiled. And people asked, how? Mama Nkem didn't say anything. She just sat on her stool, her wrapper still yellow, her eyes still red. The smell of soup was gone, but something else remained. Silence, fear, and questions. Mama Nkem didn't cook the next day. Not even a fire burned in front of her house. Not even a pot of water boiled. And still people were afraid, because something even stranger had happened overnight. The dog that was stiff the day before came back to life. It wagged its tail and barked like nothing happened. The 3 dead lizards? Gone. And Pa Ejiofor? He woke up and asked for fufu. What kind of soup is this woman stirring? One villager asked. Maybe it's not food she's cooking, another said. Maybe it's something deeper. Inside her small house, Mama Nkem sat beside Chitty. Her son, who once looked like a fading candle, now had fire in his eyes again. Mama, he whispered, I had a dream last night. She looked at him. I saw Daddy, he said. He was smiling, but he was crying too. And he said, tell your mother the price has been paid. Mama Nkem didn't speak. She just hugged her son tight. Her hands shook, not from joy, but from fear. That night, she finally lit her fire again. But this time, she didn't sell the soup. She made it quietly, for Chitty alone. As she stirred the pot, the steam rose like mist, and she felt something heavy in her chest. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't peace. It was something in between. Her tears fell into the soup again. Not from pain, but from remembrance. She remembered her husband's death. He had collapsed after dinner, clutching his chest, his eyes wide and confused. Poison, people had whispered. No, heart attack, others claimed. She's cursed, a few had said. That was 3 years ago. And since then, Mama Nkem had fought to survive. Selling soup, washing clothes, borrowing coins, hiding tears. Every spoon she stirred carried not just pepper or fish, but grief. And now her grief had become something else. Something people could taste. The next morning, people gathered near her compound again. But not with stones or curses this time. They came with questions. One bold woman named Nkechi stepped forward and asked, what did you do for your son? Mama Nkem said nothing. Another woman cried, my daughter has been coughing for weeks. I can't sleep. I don't have money. Please make that soup for her. An old man said, if you're using something, at least tell us. We are tired of suffering. Mama Nkem looked at them. Then, softly, she replied, I didn't go to the hospital. I didn't find a priest. I just gave everything I had left. My tears, my memories, my hope. Nkechi frowned. Hope doesn't boil fish. Another voice snapped. So, what exactly did you put in that pot? Mama Nkem didn't answer. She turned and walked back inside. That night, her fire didn't burn. Instead, it rained. Thunder shook the sky. The village became cold and wet. And in the middle of the storm, her door creaked open. Chitty stood behind it. A shadow stood outside. It was a woman, wet from head to toe. She was holding a child wrapped in cloth. Mama Nkem, she whispered. Please. The child coughed weakly, barely alive. Mama Nkem's heart twisted. She stepped aside. Let them in. She lit the fire again. As the pot heated, the woman sat beside her, watching closely. You didn't ask for money, she said. Why? Mama Nkem stirred slowly. Because the price has already been paid. The woman looked confused. What price? But Mama Nkem didn't answer. She just added water, pepper, crayfish, and salt. No strange leaves. No powder. No charms. Just the same things every woman in the village used. Except, she added one more thing, her story. As she stirred, she whispered softly. Some people carry pain in their hearts. I carry mine in this spoon. The child ate the soup, and by morning the cough stopped. Word spread like wildfire. By noon, 6 more women were standing by her door. By evening, 12. They didn't want food. They wanted healing. They brought buckets, bowls, plates.
They cried.
They begged. Some even dropped to their knees. But Mama Nkem didn't cook. Not that night. She looked at them and said, "It's not just the soup. It's what you put inside it." They didn't understand. But Chitty did. He said, "Mama, are you saying grief can heal?" She smiled faintly. Grief can either break you or feed you. It depends on how you stir it. That week, something changed in the village. The people who once mocked her now watched her with respect and fear. Some called her a healer. Others said she was a witch. But no one ignored her anymore. And in the center of it all was the soup. A simple pot, a simple spoon, a simple widow. But inside that pot were years of sorrow, struggle, and strength. Each time she stirred not just food, but every loss, every tear, every moment she almost gave up, but didn't. She stirred grief. And somehow grief became medicine. It started like any normal morning. The sun rose gently over Amudara village. Birds sang. Smoke curled from cooking fires. And Mama Nkem was smiling. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid to start her day. Her son, Chitty, was getting better. He had even helped fetch water the day before. His voice was strong. His laughter had returned. Neighbors said he looked like a boy who had been touched by an angel. Mama Nkem believed her prayers had been answered. She tied her yellow wrapper, lit the fire, and began to cook again. But she didn't know that by sunset, she would fall to her knees screaming. Chitty sat on their small wooden bench near the door. "Mama, I feel strong today," he said, kicking his legs happily. "Can I help you pound yam this evening?" Mama Nkem laughed. "You? Pound yam? Don't break my mortar." "Oh." They both laughed. She watched him with love in her eyes. This boy, her only child, had been sick for nearly 2 years. There were days she thought he wouldn't make it. Days she begged God to take her instead. But now he was alive, smiling, eating, even dancing sometimes. She felt like she had won a battle no one saw. But the war was not over. Not yet. By afternoon, a crowd had gathered again near her house. 3 more women had come with sick children. One brought her old father. Another carried a blind baby on her back. They all begged for soup. "Mama Nkem, please just 1 spoon. My son hasn't eaten in days. He only asked for your soup. You are our last hope." Mama Nkem didn't know what to do. She didn't feel like a healer. She felt like a tired widow who once cried into her food because she had nothing left. She looked at the faces. She saw the same fear she once carried. And so she cooked. The soup was ready just before evening. She gave each person a small bowl.
She didn't speak.
She just watched. Some cried. Some smiled. Some prayed. But one face was missing, Chitty's. She looked toward the bench. He wasn't there. She called, "Chitty, your food is ready." No answer. She looked inside the house. He wasn't on the mat. "Chitty." Then she saw him, standing near the mango tree behind the house. He looked confused.
Pale.
"Mama," he whispered. "My chest, it's tight." And before she could reach him, he collapsed. Everything went silent. The bowl in her hand dropped. She ran, falling beside him on the grass. "Chitty, Chitty." His body was hot, too hot. His eyes fluttered. His lips turned pale. "No, no, no, not again," she cried. "Not now." She carried him inside, laid him on the mat. Neighbors rushed in. "What happened?" "He just fell." "Call the nurse." But Mama Nkem was shaking. This wasn't like before. This collapse felt different, like something had been taken or returned. The nurse came quickly. She checked his heartbeat, pressed his chest, listened for breath. Then she looked up slowly. Her voice was quiet. "He's alive, but weak. Like something is pulling him from inside." Mama Nkem fell back, breathing fast. She remembered the dream Chitty told her. Daddy said the price has been paid. What if this was the price? Night came. The lantern flickered in the corner. Mama Nkem sat by her son's side, eyes wide, heartbroken. He was breathing. Barely. She didn't eat. She didn't sleep. She just watched and waited. And then just past midnight, Chitty spoke. His voice was faint. Mama. She leaned close. Do you still have some soup? Her hands trembled. Yes, my son. Then give it to the others, he whispered. What? Don't waste it on me if I go. At least they can live. Tears poured from her eyes.
No.
You will live, Chitty. I didn't give everything just to lose you now.
She went to the pot. There was only a little soup left.
She poured it carefully, sat beside her son, fed him one spoon at a time.
He winced.
Swallowed. Another spoon. Then another. And slowly his eyes stopped shaking. His chest rose stronger. His voice returned. I feel warm, he said.
She held his hand.
Don't leave me, Chitty. Please. I'm not going anywhere, Mama, he whispered. Not yet. By morning, the village came to her house. They had heard what happened. They brought gifts, oil, Gary, matches, salt. But more than anything, they brought tears. Tears for her strength. Tears for her son. Tears for their own pain. The chief's wife stood at the front and said, Whatever you did to make that soup, may it never be forgotten. And from that day, Mama Nkem's soup was no longer just food. It became a story, a legend, a quiet reminder that grief can either destroy you or feed the world. It all started with a bone, a small, white bone. Not fish, not goat meat, not chicken. Just a strange, thin bone, sitting quietly at the bottom of a bowl. But when little Ibuka saw it, he screamed, Mama, what kind of bone is this? The mother rushed over and picked it up. Her face changed. She dropped it. This is not from any animal I know, she said, shaking. Words spread fast, faster than fire. Mama Nkem's soup had a secret, and now the village was ready to find it. Just 2 days before, Mama Nkem had become a hero. After Chitty collapsed and came back strong, people started saying, This woman is chosen. Her soup is not ordinary. She healed her son and others. Some even called her Nne Mmụọ, Mother of Spirits. People brought gifts to her doorstep. Palm oil, yams, fabric, even chickens. They wanted soup. They wanted healing. They wanted hope. Mama Nkem, tired but thankful, cooked once again. But this time, she made a bigger pot than ever before. She served over 40 people. Children, elders, mothers. Even people from neighboring villages came with buckets and flasks. Her home, once quiet and broken, now felt like a small market. Chitty helped serve with a smile on his face. Mama, he said as he handed out spoons, do you think Papa can see us? She nodded. He's watching and he's proud. But she didn't know that something hidden was about to rise. When the boy Ibuka found that strange bone, the whole village paused. People rushed to the compound. Some brought back their bowls. Others turned them upside down looking. And slowly, they started finding more. Small bones. Thin. Curved in strange ways. Not one of them looked like animal bones. A man named Ikenna stood up and shouted, These bones are human. Everyone gasped. Mama Nkem froze. What are you saying? She whispered. They look like the bones of a child, he said. No, she shouted. But fear had already gripped the crowd. One woman dropped her bowl and ran. Another fainted. Even Chitty stepped back. Mama, what's going on? They took the bones to the village chief. He called 2 hunters and the nurse to examine them. After hours of checking, the nurse said, These are not fish bones. Not goat. Not chicken. The older hunter looked closely, then nodded slowly. They are real, he said, but not fresh. The chief frowned. You mean old? Yes, he said. Very old. Maybe even from a grave. That's when the shouting began. Grave bones. Did she cook the dead? Is this why this soup works? Mama Nkem stood alone. Tears ran down her face. I would never do such a thing, she said. Never. But no one listened, because once suspicion enters the heart, truth becomes hard to see. By night, she was locked in her own house. People blocked the doors with bamboo sticks. Until we know what's going on, they said, she must stay inside. Chitty cried and begged, please, my mama didn't do anything wrong. But the village was afraid. Too afraid. They forgot her kindness. They forgot her pain. They only remembered the bones. Inside the house, Mama Nkem sat beside her cold fire. She held her cooking spoon like a child holds a toy. Her mind raced. Where did the bones come from? How did they get into the soup? Then she remembered. 3 nights before, it had rained heavily. The backyard had flooded. Mud everywhere. Water had washed part of the ground near the old tree. Could it be? That tree was where her husband had been secretly buried. Long ago, when she had no money for a proper grave, some neighbors helped bury him near their compound. No one had touched that spot in years. But if the rain had loosened the soil, was it possible? Had the storm pulled out his bones? Her hands trembled. She covered her face. She wept, not just from fear, but from shame. How could love turn into horror? She hadn't meant to.
She didn't know.
And yet, the truth might destroy her. The next morning, the village dug near the tree. There, under wet soil, they found what was left of the grave. Pieces of wood, faded cloth, a rusted ring, and more bones. Someone shouted, "This must be where it came from." Another said, then maybe it was an accident. But others were not ready to forgive. She should have told us about the grave. She should have checked her water. She fed us death. The chief called another meeting. Mama Nkem was brought forward, silent, tired, broken. "What do you have to say?" he asked gently. She looked at the crowd, at the faces she once fed, at the eyes that now judged her. Then she spoke. "My husband died in pain. I buried him in shame. I cried in silence. I cooked with sorrow. But I never meant to feed you anything but hope." She looked up, voice shaking. "I didn't know his bones had surfaced. If I did, I would have died with them." Silence. Then one old woman stepped forward. She held her bowl high. "I ate the soup," she said. "I was healed." Another man stood. "My son hadn't spoken in weeks. Now he sings." One by one, voices rose. She gave us food when no one else did. She gave us hope when we had none. And slowly, the crowd turned, not with anger, but with understanding. That evening, they helped her clean the compound. They lit a proper fire. They gave her husband a proper grave. And for the first time in many years, peace returned, not just to her house, but to the village, because the bones had not brought death. They had revealed truth.
Pain. Love.
Sacrifice. And what was truly inside the soup was not bone or magic, but grief that became healing.